All right, welcome back. So I've had a little bit of an eventful morning. These were supposed to be up a couple hours ago. So here's I'll just tell you my schedule. So I put together what we're going to be working on the day prior. And then when I get here in the mornings, I put some finishing touches on things, maybe change a couple pictures, maybe a format, a layout, this, that, or the other. And then I post it, record the video because I know some of you want to get up and at it early. Um, I'm working on doing better with the videoing process. I've run into a lot of issues, which I did this morning. I recorded. This is the second time I'm doing this one. I recorded it the first time. It was like 20 minutes. I thought it was pretty good. Go to upload it. Apparently, the software or the program that I'm using to video this crashed. So then I had to restart my computer, add updates. I go to do it again. It crashes. I have to close out everything. It's just been a hassle. But hey, getting this to you now. I hope that you guys enjoy. Hopefully, you're watching these. Maybe you're not. Uh, but I think it's important for us to talk about these things because what I give you in your notes is the information I think that you should, at minimum, know. I try to add in a little bit of context going through our notes, which is why I'm excited for you guys to finally come back to school. I don't know exactly when that'll be, but I look forward to when that happens because we get much more out of this discussion. So when you have questions about something, well then, that helps give me some context. Okay, well let's move in this direction. Let's talk about it from this sense. Doing this on a video, with me, there's some things that I may understand and that I may not see where there could be questions, which, something I'm always trying to reflect on. I'm trying to think about this from if I didn't know anything about it. All right. Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and start our presentation. We have for today, I need to hide that. There we go. The findings of Columbus. Now, one thing I want to go ahead and mention to you is this is what Columbus would have saw when he made landfall. This view, right? So we tend to think about things being from 500 years ago, being as I don't know, not as vibrant. Maybe I had a student ask me one time, how did they know what color things were if everything was in black and white? And again, that stunned me. I'm like, what do you mean everything was in black and white? Well, there wasn't color a long time ago, was there? Yeah. Yeah, but TVs came in black and white. That's just because they couldn't. That's just because they couldn't. The technology was lagging behind. I don't know. It was up there one of those with that question. If you don't eat, will you die? It was kind of up there with that one. But I got asked this one in high school. But this is what Columbus would have saw. And again, this is freaking beautiful. I would love to go there. Never been on a cruise. That's one thing I'd like to do at some point. I'm not honestly. I really want to go on an Alaskan cruise. That'd be fun. But let's stick to the Caribbean. Caribbean. I don't know. I think I say both of them. I say Caribbean, if I'm talking about Pirates of the Caribbean, right? Because Pirates of the Caribbean just doesn't sound right. But then if I'm talking about something like Caribbean jerk chicken, then I can't say Caribbean. I don't know. All right. So the initial landing. So Columbus makes landfall on October 12th. We talked about that. I do want to show you this map. So again, Columbus is sailing from from Europe. He does not know this is here. He believes he's going to end up right here in China and the Indies, Indonesia. That's where, and again, India is right here. The Indies are the islands, essentially off the coast of China, India, Japan being right in this area. This is where he thinks he's going. This is the old route to get there. Columbus is going this way. He does not know this is there. He wants to land right here. Boom. All right. So Columbus makes landfall. The natives, upon their arrival, swim out to Columbus's ships because they see the ships early at daybreak. And so they swim out to the ships, and they believe that Columbus and his men have been sent from heaven. We got to think about it. Like, the natives had never seen anyone like the Europeans before, and especially with like all of the things they had, and their ships were huge. The natives, they used like canoes, so this was something like very distinct and different from what they had always seen and what they'd been accustomed to. So they swim out to Columbus. He takes them on board. They sail in. They make landfall. They are giving gifts freely, and Columbus talks about this: how the natives will give anything, anything and everything that they have. And this is when, obviously, when Columbus realizes, I'm going to move my face so you can. This is when Columbus realizes that there is a very distinct language barrier, which he knew this was going to be an issue because, again, he is sailing to these Asian countries out here, and he speaks Spanish. And even in Europe, like, Europe is a small continent, but there's a lot of different languages spoken across Europe. And so he actually has a few members of his crew that are bi and trilingual, and maybe even more. I don't really know what you call those. Qualingual? I don't know. So Columbus, in his conversations and with his dealings with the natives, he begins to refer to them as Indios. This is Spanish for Indians. Again, he believes he is landed in the Indies, so this makes sense why he would call them that. Columbus, he takes note of the way that they look, and he says that they look very. Well, he calls them beautiful people, and he notices he quickly notices some things about them. The first is that many of them are not clothed. In our picture, they're clothed, but this would not necessarily be the case in like actuality. And he notices this, and along with, well, obviously, I mean, how do you miss it? But with seeing that, he also notices a lot of scars on the natives' bodies. And from his conversations, what he can piece together from the natives, again, from that, with a language barrier being in the way, he believes that they have been at warfare with other islanders nearby. And we're going to talk about those specific group of islanders just a little bit later. Columbus talks about how he believes that these natives would be very easy converts to Christianity. Again, that being one of the main reasons that King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella had agreed to sponsor this voyage, is to spread the word of Christ and to convert the people that he was going to come in contact with to Christianity. Again, Islam had been spreading all through Africa and into Asia and even into Europe. And these two religions were at conflict with each other for many, many years leading into Columbus's voyage. He talks about not only that they'd be easy converts, but it would be easier to convert them by like kindness than by force. And I think this is an important distinction that we have to really think about a little bit. The first voyage is not necessarily where we see the most controversy surrounding Columbus. It's actually in the second, third, and fourth voyages and the aftermath of the first voyage, more so than the initial landing and the initial what word am I looking for here? The first communications with the natives. That wasn't the word I'm looking for, but we'll go with it. Columbus took 6 natives to come with him as he traveled around nearby islands, and they were to serve as guides. And then his goal was to bring them back to Spain with him for various reasons, what we're going to look at the end of his journey. Next, we have navigating the Caribbean. I'm always moving my face around. So this right here is what we know as the Bahamas today. Now, you see, they're made up of a lot of different islands. So this is actually where Columbus is, and this is the area he's sailing around. The first place that where they believe that he first landed is this island that he himself named San Salvador. They believe this is the location of that island. Columbus's journals are really difficult because, one, it's a lot of nautical terms. So unless I mean, unless you are a sailor, it would probably be hard for like just a layman to pick it up. And also, some of his directions, we got to think like navigation was nowhere near what it is now. We got GPS for God's sakes. If you want to, go to McDonald's, the only thing you got to do is punch it into the GPS. You don't have to actually like navigate by the stars and the sun and everything like that. That's what Columbus and his men were doing. So their directions kind of seem off. But this is where most historians believe that San Salvador, that first island that Columbus landed, is. So he would go from San Salvador. San Salvador is Spanish for Holy Savior. And he would travel all through the Bahamas. He actually, when he begins sailing, he actually goes to the opposite side of San Salvador. And he, again, encounters natives in that area as well, very similar to the natives that he met in his initial landing. Columbus is in his journal, he's writing down his observations, what he sees, and he talks about the green, fertile lands. He talks about the signs of gold from the natives. Again, gold being a major reason that this voyage was sponsored. We have to remember this was a business venture. He continues to sail from San Salvador around these various islands, but his goal is again to make it to Japan. There are no like bad encounters with the natives during this part of his journey. Again, very peaceful and friendly relations. The natives give what they have, and the Europeans are giving them gifts in return, like glass and beads, and bells, just various items, various goods from Europe. So while the goal is still to make it to Japan, they call Simpango. The natives that Columbus took aboard with him steer him towards Cuba. Now, this is actually like the name that they call it and the name that we still call it today. Columbus, when he lands on Cuba, again, you gotta think about this. Like, this is a large landmass compared to what we've seen right here. Columbus, when he lands on Cuba, he believes that this is part of Japan. He believes he has made it from Europe to Japan. And he has heard that there are islands like right under Japan and right beside Japan, the Indies. And so again, this all makes sense why he thinks he is there instead of actually in the Bahamas and on Cuba, just south of Florida. You see right here, USA, this is Florida. So while Columbus is going through these islands when he lands on Cuba, he is then warned about another group of natives on a nearby island. These people are called the Caribs, and again, this is where we get the term Caribbean or Caribbean. We can get back into that if you want to, but let's just not for the time being. And Columbus is told about these Caribs as being large people with one eye, a dog snout, and that they eat people. They are cannibals. Now, Columbus, he takes this for what it's worth. He doesn't believe that there are, large people with one eye and dog snouts. He's never seen anybody like that, and he finds that to be more so like a personification of the evil of these people and within these people. But he does, again, piece together from the natives that these Caribs had been attacking the other islanders, would capture them, enslave them for labor, and when they were no longer of any good, they would eat the people they had enslaved. And so there were like, he hears about this from several different groups. So from this, we can take away that there was conflict. While Columbus says that most of these islanders are not warlike and they know not much of arms, like of weaponry, the Caribs did, and they took advantage and would, again, slaughter and even eat some of the islanders in the area. Now, let's go to our next slide. Got to be careful with this or it messes up. There we go. All right, so I don't know if okay. So the discoveries of Columbus. Let me move my head again just a little bit. So I like this painting a lot. Um, Columbus journaled again throughout his entire excursion. And again, he's writing down what he sees, what he observes. He writes about animals. He talks about how he sees new species of birds, of snakes, of fish that he's never seen before in Europe, and how exotic they are. He writes about the landscape. That's what we can kind of take away from right here is like he's astonished by the forests, the mountains, the beautiful flowers, the plants, the trees, the big fruit that hangs from the trees. Obviously, I've already talked a little bit about how he talks about the people. He sees them as beautiful people. Some of the people that he encountered, again, he says that they are not clothed. These in this painting are. And he did meet some islanders while navigating through the Bahamas that, were very much seemed like wealthy in a sense and that had more than some of the other islanders which seem impoverished. So we do see some type of maybe not hierarchical struggle, but we do see that there are different groups of people that have different cultures and different behaviors and different traditions and different rituals. So there is some variety, some diversity amongst even just the natives in this small little area. Columbus writes about the valuable items that he sees. So what they had done is Columbus and his crew had taken on board with them gold, cinnamon, pepper, various different spices. And the reason they did this was to show the people in which they would later come in contact with when they, reached the Indies, that he could show them this and, essentially ask for more or find ways to collect more. Because again, this is a business venture. King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, they want to spread the word of Christ and make converts to Christianity. They want Spain to be glorified in this founding of a new route to Asia. But also, again, they want gold. They want some type of monetary value out of this because this is going to be an expensive voyage. There's a lot that goes into it. So they want the riches that come with it. And, during this, the natives give these items to Columbus. And again, Columbus and his men give freely back to the natives, peaceful for the most part during this first journey, during this first voyage. It is also during this time that Columbus is gifted tobacco. And this might be the first actual time that Europeans had encountered tobacco. He talks about in his journals about this very distinct smelling weed. He's talking about the tobacco plant. He talks about how they smoke it and how it makes them much more calm. And so tobacco would later become a huge commodity in Europe via the 13 original colonies, especially the southern colonies of that. All right, let's continue. Our last slide right here. So, so finishing the first voyage. Okay, so Columbus, during his excursion throughout the Bahamas, he ends up taking about 20 natives on board with him. Some wanted to go and just freely volunteered. Others, Columbus doesn't say that he enslaved them. He never says that. He says that he takes them. So you could look at that as taking taking you passenger, or I'm taking you on a ride, or I'm taking you somewhere, or you can think about it as like taking, like physically, like grabbing and taking against their will. Columbus doesn't really decipher the difference between the two, which is why we have conflicting reports. Again, this whole Columbus controversy, there's so much more to Columbus's first discoveries and first voyage, and really all of his voyages, than we can ever sit down and really discuss. Mainly just because, one, the only written document that we have that talks about this whole voyage is Columbus's journal himself, which, okay, that's written by him. So, there is a bias there, but also it's just so much more detailed. Life's always more complicated than the stories that we make out of it. I can tell you about my morning and how, I got right to school and then, had to turn around because I forgot my computer. But, while that is a simple story, there's more to that story than just the little parts that I tell you. And that's essentially how history is. To put it in a narrative sense, we have to cut out a lot of the details. When we cut out the details, well, we lose a lot of the substance. So Columbus takes 20 natives on board with him, men, women, and children, some of them actually related to each other, families. And his goal is to take them back to Spain for them to learn Spanish. And then when they come back, on the second voyage with Columbus, they will be able to act as landowners, as lords, and as business partners to Spain. Again, this is Columbus's attempt to unite both the Western world and the Eastern world from Europe to Asia. Martin Pinzon. I added this in here because I think this is a little bit of foreshadowing in a sense. So Martin Alonso Pinzon, or Martin, I guess is probably more so how you would pronounce it in Spain. Martin Pinzon, he was the captain of the Pinta. And during the months of, he actually departs from Columbus's fleet in about mid to late November and goes on his own way to find more gold. This would mark Martin Alonso Pinzon as someone that Columbus could not trust. Both Pinzon brothers were captains of the Pinta and the Nina, and Columbus was captain of the Santa Maria. And it's during this time that Columbus starts to see that some of these captains, the Pinzon brothers, and some of these crew members have their own, I don't want to say selfish. That's how Columbus would look at it. Have their own selfish intentions that they want to, this isn't just for the king and queen or for the glory of Spain or for, the spread of Christianity. This is also for individual gain as well. And that's what Columbus, he starts to distrust some of his crew. But he's also in a situation where he has to trust them. They are in this very exotic place that they had never been before. And there's a language barrier and they can't communicate with the natives all that well. So Columbus is in a tough position. It is in December when, again, traveling through the Bahamas, that the Santa Maria wrecks into some rocks and they have to abandon the ship. Martin Pinzon and the Pinta would reunite with Columbus during the month of December. And it is in January that Columbus founds a settlement that he calls La Navidad, and he leaves 39 men behind as he and the rest of the fleet on now just the Pinta and the Nina sail back to Spain. Now, this is in January. The reason that they had to get out of there, the reason why he leaves, is because he doesn't want to be caught in winter. They, in a sense, they may have already stayed too long. But here's the idea. Back then, winters were brutal and they were deadly, not only because of, the climate and it being cold and them not having heat. They could start a fire, but they didn't have gas heat or anything like that. So not only is it the climate, but it's also the vegetation. There's nothing growing during the winter. There's sickness spreading during the winter. So he has to get out of there. He has to, in order to make sure that they can ensure the safety of his own men, he needs to get out of there. But he does leave those 39 behind to essentially live amongst the natives, and kind of learn their language a little bit, and to, again, start setting up some opportunities for trade and for commerce and, money-making enterprises, because this, again, is a large part of the reason why this entire thing was sponsored in the first place. So like we said earlier, this first voyage isn't necessarily the parts that are sparked in controversy. It's more so the second, third, and fourth voyages of Columbus. But we do see that there are some issues that Columbus has with the people that is part of his crew. And we see this kind of from the beginning and all through the voyage. But when he leaves the 39 men and returns home to Spain, this is where we start to see how it's not all good for both the Europeans and certainly not for the natives. All right. So hopefully you guys have already knocked out the journal entry. I know some of you jumped on that real early, and I appreciate you. The rest of you that haven't had a chance to look over these notes, check out this video. I hope that you do. But we will have a quiz tomorrow, 10-question easy quiz, just based on what we talked about this week. And then on Monday, we will finish up the rest of the voyages of Columbus. I mean, essentially, we could have a whole class and a whole semester based on Columbus's 4 voyages, but obviously we can't. We have a lot to cover, so because of that, some of the details, some of the substance is kind of left out and kind of hitting the high points. But we're going to do our best not to skip over much. But unfortunately, that's just what comes with taking a history class in which we're covering almost 400 years. There's a lot that is kind of lost in time. All right, so I'll see you guys on Monday. Actually, you will see a quiz from me tomorrow, and then you will see me again on Monday in another video. If I don't know, if I'm feeling like it tomorrow, I might just put something up. Maybe some like fantasy football rankings. Nah, I'm just kidding. But that is something I'm definitely getting into this weekend. All right, so I will see you guys then. Have a good weekend.